Previously on Unglassy.
I just want to say, if people are listening and they're like, wait, how did the guys do sketches and then end up in this place where they're taken seriously as like documentarians? It is this thing where it's like, look, we have the tools, we're just using them in a different way because we're the same guys. We've always been It's the Real. We've always been like openly like these funny guys who are good storytellers, whether in our sketches, our music, our like absurdist interviews with people like Stevie Wonder, or the television show that we wrote that was not made, unfortunately. But all these things, the same thing that ties all these things together is that we're talented storytellers.
From the top.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Mickey Fax.
And I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Welcome to Unglassy, decoding brand and culture. I'm Tom Frank, partner and chief creative officer at Merit Creative. This is Mickey Fax, hip-hop artist and founder and CEO of Pendulum Inc. And that is Jeffrey Sledge, a seasoned music industry veteran who has worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. We're here to explore the moments of vulnerability, pivotal decisions, and creative sparks that fuel the relationship between brand and culture. Get ready for a thought-provoking journey into the heart and soul of branding, the unscripted, unfiltered, and truly unglassy truth.
Yeah, I want to go back to the podcast a little bit because you said you guys did it 5 years, and it really grew to like this phenomenon, for lack of a better term. It was like everybody was on it. People watched it every week, and which was really interesting is that the podcasts were fairly long. It wasn't like they weren't 30 minutes. They were like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or something like that. So like you know, but people would lock in to the whole shows, you know, and really listen. I remember after my episode being on the train and stuff, and kids coming up to me and be like, yo, I saw you on the internet, I saw you on the show. And I'm like, oh shit. I even I maybe didn't respect how far reaching it was. You know, I knew obviously it was a big podcast, pause, but I didn't respect that the kid, like I said, I would be in the store and some kid would be like, yo, Sledge, right? I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? Yo, I saw you on the pod. You know, it was really a thing. And I did 2 episodes. So I did my interview, and then we did a year-end wrap-up, which I'm so mad we didn't do more. We did wrap-up with me and Scotty Beam, and I think Combat Jack was there, and gosh,
I think
maybe
Jason Rodriguez. Maybe? Yeah.
Yes, and
Naomi Zeichner and Rembert.
Naomi, yes,
Yeah,
Naomi, she was so cool. And we just talked about the end of the year and you know all the records that had come out during the year and what was the best album, what was the best, and you know that even got deep. Like I remember, just like you know, it wasn't we really debating about what was what. I mean, it was just a great. And I think the fact that you guys did it in your apartment instead of a studio actually worked to the benefit because it was really comfortable. Because it was somebody's crib. You know, you could be comfortable in the studio too, but like you said, being in those around in the kitchen table, which is all in politics now, but literally being at the kitchen table talking about whatever you're talking about, you know, with the refrigerator right there, and like I remember when I was in, your brother came in, like he came home from work, like so, like it was like really comfortable. It was.
You know what's wild?
I'm gonna let you guys talk about it, but please talk about it more.
What's wild is it was originally conceived as something that like we could do easily, right? Like we got the shortest commute. We just got to walk right to our kitchen, right? But it did work absolutely to our benefit, like you said, because people would just be comfortable. If you walk into our apartment, now you see the pictures on the wall, you see all the books, you know exactly who we are. If you know us, you're comfortable to begin with. If you don't, like Kevin Gates came by, we were so nervous, right? We were just like, oh, we've seen what he did like on the Breakfast Club. Like we've seen too many interviews go like left. And we just didn't know what to expect. And he walked in and he gave the biggest hug. He's like, I love your energy. Right. So we're like, oh, off the bat. But you know, but if you're someone like Jimmy Jones who knows us, right? He's not going to leave for like 8 hours. He just sits on the couch and like, that's it, right? He wants to hang before, he wants to hang during, and he wants to hang after. And like,
so like, it's very nice. It does derail your day. Like there was a time when, and again, we're now talking about like a waste of time where it was just like Swizz Beatz showed up at I want to say like 1
Yeah, 1
in the
a.m.
morning. And then around like 3 a.m., he was like, hey, like, what do you like? What the podcast is done? Like, what do you guys want to do next? And we were like, oh, I mean, like, I'm going to go to sleep. And
It's
he was
3
like, no,
a.m.
no. Yeah. He was like, no, no, come to the studio. And so we went to the studio with Swizz Beatz.
Yeah, but it's a crazy scenario where it's like, because you're at home, and I think too, not to pat ourselves on the back, but one of our talents is we listen. And I think that's something that's so important to podcasting that most people don't do. You know, we're so there when you're in the room, just in the moment, right? So, and I think that we care about things that maybe like other people might gloss over. So like Jeff is on the podcast, we're like, yo, like what's it like to grow up in White Plains, right? And like and then you go from there and you're so in the moment. It's just like, we're going to go through this whole arc. We're going to hear directly from this person. Like we're at the kitchen table, we're listening, we're actively a part of this conversation. You're going to get a result that's like deeper and more meaningful than maybe like just the sort of like, yo,
Mhm.
here's what happened in the news this week. So we offered
Yeah.
something different, right? And a lot of people now come up to us and are just like, yo, what? You guys were podcasting like that early? And we're like, oh, we podcasted back in '09, right? Like we were like podcasting like since
Yeah.
we were honestly like on the very early end. We're not the first ones. Shout out to Cypher Sounds and Peter Rosenberg. You know, obviously
Mm.
it's well documented the conversation that we had with Reggie, with Combat Jack. We were the first ones to introduce him to the idea of a podcast. He came to our
Mhm.
apartment with donuts and was like, you know, so at home and anyway, but like we were early. People were like, "Oh, you guys must have, you know, made so much bank off of this," and we're like, "Oh no, like we're not." And I think like that's something too, where it's like people can see that we're 2 feet down in this thing, that we care about this thing. I think a lot of the guests that we had, whether it was Jeff or whether it was Sycamore or whether it was Marcia St. Hubert, people that maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but afterwards are so, you know, like, wow, there's a dedication to this thing of ours, right? We love the people in front of the camera, but boy, do we love the people who don't get the shine.
Right. And
Yeah.
we put
Mhm.
everybody on the same level. So like, when we would promote being like, we did like 300 episodes or whatever, we make a big collage, and it was the same, it was people behind the camera, but also people in front of the camera who were all just like mixed in with one another. And it wasn't like some are more important than others.
Right. And by the way,
Mhm.
like on our 250th episode, we made a big deal out of it. We had our mom on, right? And but like her story is right there next to, you know, Rick Ross or Lizzo or you know, Swiss or whoever it was, and that's very very meaningful. And I think that Jeff, you know, you're getting recognized off of that. There are people who came up to us, and whether it was, you know, Sycamore or Dallas Martin or Brocky Marciano,
Mhm.
or like they were like,
Mhm.
yo, like, or like Ebe Hamad or whoever it is, they were like, yo, this has allowed me
To work in the industry.
to understand how
Yeah.
to get in. Like there's a place for me and there's a job that I never knew existed. And I'm going to, like, we know actual successful A&Rs at major record companies who have broken legendary artists who got to start from just being like, you know what, I'm going to press play on this episode of Waste Time with It's the Real. And that's the path that I'm going to go after. And
Yeah.
that to us as guys who like, we moved down to New York City in '07. We were doing these sketches. We did not have regular 9 to 5s, right? We were dedicated to this thing, and we would spend all of our time hanging out at record labels, right? We would sneak in, we got no security, like they would just send us through. We would walk around and we would sit down with people like Sam Crespo. We would sit down, who's a major radio guy, but like, you know, maybe no one's gonna like give him his flowers until
Yeah.
we did, right? Or we're
Mhm.
gonna hang out with Chris Atlas, or we're gonna, you know,
Ashley Kalmanowitz, Nordia West.
yeah, like different people who like were just around. You get to know them. You show your face. Maybe when they're like, you know what, I want to promote my artist and their new project. I'm gonna come to you guys
Loso
because
Gando.
you're top of mind.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
June Cardona,
Mhm.
like all these people that like, you know, we got to be very close with, those relationships. And that's the key. Like if people are like, oh, how did these, you know, two white Jewish guys from 30 minutes outside New York City, how did they end up at the center of this thing? It's relationships.
Yeah,
And
we
Jeff,
showed up.
Jeff can speak exactly to that. Like we care. We never left.
Yeah.
You know, we love this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, did you see my Pimp C Andre 3000 story? Andre told that story on The Shop.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yep.
I saw
story.
that.
I had no idea he even knew that story. I was watching it like, wait, he knows what happened? I was stunned. He told the story like verbatim. I was like, did he get that from hearing It's the Real, or did somebody
Yeah.
tell him? Because he like literally told it verbatim to what I mean, because it's a true story, but I was just shocked that I didn't think he knew. I didn't think
It's
he
so
knew
funny.
that story. That was,
It's such a good
yeah.
story. But like again, you know, Jeff told that story not off
That
of
was a
any
long
like,
time ago.
but not off any clickbait. It was just we were
No,
having
no,
we
no.
were having a
We
story
talking.
amongst friends.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, we just kicking it. Just
Yeah.
kicking it. Yeah.
But it is funny how often that one clip goes crazy viral.
Well, yeah, but that's the same thing with like we interviewed Travis Scott, his first interview. That thing goes around every couple months.
Yeah.
And
And
I wish that people would tag us more.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I don't know if I said it, but piece of Scotty Beam. She was in the reviews too. I didn't want to forget her name because
No, totally.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what's nice is that like again, and Jeff, I know you know this. Like we know all your relationships. We know what you meant to New York City and hip hop. You know, for a long period across lots of different eras. But for us coming up during the blog era, that we're close to all these people, that we got to see the rise of people like Scotty Beam, that we got to see the rise of people like, you know, Misinfo, that we got to like see the rise, and like we're all coming up at this Andrew Barber from Fake Shore Drive, like to see how people move and to see how people you know, truly like were authentic in their voices and never strayed from this thing. There's a lot of people who use hip hop to go to different places. Like
a lot of people.
come on, but the people who like stay in this thing, who love it, who have the right reasons, you know, that's there's nothing better for us than that.
Yeah.
And it is
I
all
agree to
about
see somebody
relationships. We had Chris Atlas
Yeah,
on our last episode, and if
That's
there's one
two-
thing you took
yeah,
away
2
from that, it was relationship, and that is what he just kept saying. And I know Jeffrey, he's made a career out of those relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it matters, and it's good to see, like, you know, you guys, like you said, Andrew. What did Andrew just recently? He's something big. Did he just get a job or something?
Well,
something.
Andrew's doing a lot of things, but it is always incredible. Like, look, if you were to tell like young Jeff and young Eric that we would be best friends with the Locks and we would play a part in their tiny desk and we would have this podcast with them, that we would trade texts every morning on like the wildest things, we would have had our minds blown. If you would tell young Andrew Barber that he would host Manny Fresh and Juvenile in his city on a huge stage, like that, in, you know, as a you know, a grown up, young Andrew Barber would have had his mind blown, right? But like these things are,
believe it.
but these things are possible because you put in the work. Like young Jeff Sledge may not have like ever imagined that he would, you know, be the guy connecting the dots between artists who make songs that like, you know, span the world, that matter, that like are legendary. Like, but it's all about putting in the work, keeping those relationships, and staying true. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, and it makes me feel good to see like that happen. That's what I was gonna say about Andrew. Like I saw that and I was like, oh shit, like, you know. And Andrew's a good dude too. Like he says, this is good to see all these things manifest from people just kind of staying true to it and who love it for real, and not just like using it to get the next lick or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And you guys as well, you know.
Thank you.
You guys as well. Yeah.
Now,
should we tell the story about how we ran into each other in White Plains at the was it the day DMX died?
Yeah.
He died, right?
Well, it might have been the.
Was it
the memorial service?
No.
The memorial service.
No. Because we ran into each other because we were going to go to the hospital, right? but I think
Yes.
Oh,
I
right.
think he was still alive. But we did that is crazy because
That was crazy.
we ran into Jeff, and what's crazy is you might have been the first person that we played the trailer for the blog era.
Yes.
I was.
In the
in the car.
And
In the car.
you know,
Yep.
Yep.
but like it's something crazy because again, you work on this project quietly, you sort of like don't want to spoil this for anybody. You speak to so many people about it. You put your heart into this thing. And then we built something. I don't even think, Jeff, that we put out like any feelers for business opportunities either at that point. That was just like that trailer was eventually for the Pharrells to hear, right? So you were like honestly one of the first people who even heard what we were like, the scope of the idea that we were trying
and
to
that
do.
was probably like 8 months in or something. Maybe not even
honestly,
like 6 months or something. It was
prob-
early.
probably a little later, but
Yeah.
that was a very meaningful time to do that.
Yeah.
But also
I think I was going to the doctor. I was coming from the doctor, and you guys were in White Plains for the thing, and we met.
That's exactly right.
We like, oh, you here? Yeah.
But what was amazing was we've run into Jeff all around the city. We saw Jeff down in Atlanta not too long ago. This is something that continues on that really matters. So.
It was like I just looked it up. It was like
8 months
6 to 8 months in.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. Early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Before we leave the
can you
podcast,
guys-
though, you had to have some crazy interviews too, though. Any that you want to share that did go off the rails? I mean, you had to have some.
Yes. Oh, there was a big writer who came over and.
I thought we were talking about blog era.
No.
No. Wow, either one, but the podcast too. You had people in your house.
Yeah.
Some of those had to go crazy.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a writer who came over. Jeff, I think is probably nicer about the situation than maybe I am, but he definitely threatened to punch me. That interview never came out. Yeah, it was like you're in my home and you're really talking like this.
It was weird.
Yeah. There was that. Kodak Black came over. Kodak had a half dozen security guys who would be like inside our apartment, outside the door, downstairs at the lobby door, like, and then afterwards
he disappeared.
Like we took pictures, then he disappeared. His car was still there. Security was still
there.
But
everybody was looking for him.
And where was he?
He was behind the church, like down an alley, and he was peeing outside. And people were like,
we got like our apartment we have 2 bathrooms in our apartment, and there's one in the lobby. And he was just like, he's more comfortable that way. It was like, okay, sure.
Yeah, but there were like,
the amount of people who would show up not on time is incredible.
Sure.
So we started that podcast making food for people, which was a gimmick that was a terrible idea, especially because no one wants to hear anyone eating on the microphone. This is before like ASMR and all that. No one wants to eat cold food. When the Migos came over, they sat there and stared at the food that we like went out and bought for them.
Because we were gonna make something different, and then they were like, they
had a writer.
They had a writer, but like this is maybe like 10 minutes before they showed up. And so they asked for a whole litany of things that we did not have.
So we ran across the street to a barbecue place. We bought the stuff that they asked for, laid it out, like got all of our and
we're so proud of ourselves. We were like, wow, we like really pulled this thing together. And they were just like not crispy enough. And then it just sat there and we felt like dumb.
Yeah.
But
thankfully about
not crispy.
Yeah. Thankfully about 20 episodes in, we were like, you know what?
Let's
no
not
longer
do this
going to
anymore.
cook.
Yeah.
Food was gone.
Scrap the food.
Yeah.
Sidebar. 2 bathrooms in your apartment in New York City is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's hard to find.
Yeah, we had
you got stuck on.
Yeah. So that was that. I think that like there's probably a ton of people who again would stay late. There was a guy named Jason Rembert who is a big stylist, worked with everyone from like Odell Beckham to Lizzo to Cardi, like just a legendary guy, really nice guy. We caught him as he was on his way to LA for some award show. It was the middle of the
it was
event
supposed to
or
be.
something.
It was supposed to be the following day.
Yeah, but
and then he was like, my schedule changed. Can I do it tonight?
He had to do it that night. Jeff was out of the house. I was all by myself. I burnt a pork chop right in the oven, like caught on fire, burnt. Like this does not normally happen, right? Sprayed it with the fire extinguisher. Like I was sitting there. This is very sad, but I was sitting there. The only thing that like worked was like I was making couscous on the range, right? So I put down a trivet, I put down the pot, and I'm eating out of the pot. It was very sad, right? So the whole place is smoky. I got all the windows open, and it's below freezing, right? And Jeff calls me, and he was like, "Yo, Jason's coming over right now." I was like, "Tell him the apartment's on fire. Like, what are you talking about?" And he was like, "No, I want to do it." So he sat there in the smoky, cold, and like miserable situation. It smelled like a tailgate, right, in our apartment. And we're sitting there, and he never wanted to leave because he's like, I got to catch an early flight. Would you guys mind if I stayed? We're like, well,
just hang out.
Yeah, but it's also like 2:00 in the morning, and we're both like tired, haven't eaten,
and possibly asphyxiating ourselves.
Yeah, and so
you were in his hotel room because he didn't want to get a hotel room for his flight.
Exactly, for 4 hours.
But we were like, yo, like I know you don't want to go home and wake your kid up, but like, can you go like to the office or something? He was like, nah, all right, I'm fine.
But it was like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Or something.
So anyway, that happened.
Yeah,
that's funny. Those are good stories.
By the way, and just to be honest, we did 5 years of episodes. We had a lot of fun, but if like to invite all these people over to your home to always have a clean bathroom, to always
one last thing that was weird about doing the podcast.
Wait, okay, one more question before not to cut you off, Jeff. Did anybody ever blow up the bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But the story I was going to tell was that there was a girl who came over who used the bathroom and then turned the toilet paper around.
Like she in her head. No, it's not an It's like this is insane. Who goes over to someone's apartment? It's like, I'm so uncomfortable with the roll going over. I gotta switch it.
Flip it around.
Yeah.
Like what?
I mean, maybe it was like a feng shui thing, but like
it's not like it fell off or something. Like is like she made a concerted effort to flip
lift
it around
and flip it.
Flip it around.
Yeah.
What? Like that's bizarre.
So doing a podcast in your place, not in the future.
No.
I mean, no. I could see a world.
I can't. So
maybe not. I don't know.
We have separate apartments. You can do your podcast.
Yeah.
However you want. Whichever way you want the toilet paper to go,
Yeah.
Flip over, right?
That's right.
That's funny.
Man, I feel like we could be talking to you for days here if we want to. Maybe we'll do this till 3 a.m. But as we get closer to an end here, I do want to ask, looking back, what advice? I mean, there's so many people that are now doing what you've done. Like, what advice do you give these young creators that are out there right now that you would love to have someone have told you?
Totally. Well, if someone told me this, I would have been on the same page. And so my advice is don't stop. I think the easiest thing to do is to announce that you're going to do something, put out one episode, and then like if you don't get the views or the listens, is to call it. And it's like, really? If you keep up with something, you do things with consistency and quality, you're going to be fine. Like the audience will find you. We're absolutely the best sort of example of doing something, staying with it, not giving up. Like you could have all the things go against you. You don't have the money. You don't have the audience. You don't have the access. Like, again, we were nobodies. We came from, way outside the center of the circle. We just stuck with something. We did something different. We didn't outstay our welcome. You know?
It's also that we brought something different. And I think that so often people see something that's successful and try and emulate that. And I think that my advice would be do something that does not feel like everything else.
Yeah, there's already a Nori, there's already a Joe Budden, there's already a shop, right?
But there's already now thousands of other things. And so it's like, by the way, podcasting is just a medium. You don't have to do a podcast. You can do something else. I think that people have a very limited idea of what they can do or what they should do, you know? And I think that people should think outside the box and not be not force themselves into what people have already built.
Yes. And lastly, you know, we are guys who we have a voice. We've sold out venues, but you could put our name on the marquee and we could do whatever on that stage. And people would be like, you know what? I don't know what they're going to do that night, but I know it's going to be a lot of fun. I know it's going to be extremely interesting, and I know it's going to be very unique.
Well, which is to say, again, I have experience as a magician's assistant. So that stage show is going to be amazing.
I would have loved to see one of those shows.
Oh my God.
That is great advice. And I'm going to end with this, because we always do.
Mm-hmm.
You can work with any brand, any musician, anyone to do anything with, whether it's an interview, whether it's a sketch, whether it's whatever. Like, what's the dream? What's the one thing that you haven't done yet? And I'm sure it's going to continually evolve. But what's that thing on your mind now you'd love to have the chance to do it?
Play Connect 4 with Stevie Wonder.
Boom, cut, over.
That was a perfect answer. Perfect answer.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, that's good.
We're going to stick with that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Jeffrey, anything else?
Nah, because it'll turn into another half hour. But you know, I love these guys. Like I said, they're my guys. We've had so many, and besides the blog and all that, we just had so many personal experiences and running, like Eric said, running to each other on the street in New York and just walking and talking and just like just kicking it. And I love these guys, and I still send them things on Instagram and Twitter from time to time about Westchester, the best pizza and all that stuff.
That's right.
These are my friends. I love them, and I support everything they do.
No, and again, relationships are everything. Our friendship with Jeff is so meaningful to us. It is something that again, we love the people in front of the cameras. Those people behind the cameras are everything to us. There's a reason that the artists that you know and love are successful, and it's not just one person, right? And so to give people their flowers, to know that there's people who actively want to be a part of this thing is important to know. And I think that's why voices like Jeff's matter. I think it's exciting for us to help tell those stories, and to be here 17 years into this thing, to be on your guys' platform and ask these questions that we really, really appreciate is amazing. So thank you for that. And shout out to you guys for doing the work, for bigging people up that deserve it, and we're just grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, people, you got to watch the Blog Era. If you haven't listened to it, you have to do it. You have to do it. It's so worth every minute of time.
Yeah.
I love that I got to meet you guys. I love that I got to talk to you again. I hope we stay in touch, because I can't wait to see what you're doing next. And I would be one of those guys. Just put your name up there. I'm coming, because I just want to see what it is. And hopefully it's a magic show one day. So
yeah.
You never know.
Thank you.
Alakazam.
That's right.
There you go.
Thank you guys sincerely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, folks. That's our show. Tune in to Unglossy, Decoding Brand and Culture on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at UnglossyPod to join the conversation. Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Smicky! That was good.